So back in 2014, a group of funders came together and we were interested in exploring two related questions. The first one was, can we increase the number of high-quality, out-of-school programs for vulnerable youth in the city? But secondly, we were also interested in exploring, could we do it better? Could we invest better? Could we come up with a better process of pooling our funds, of being more efficient and effective in getting those funds out to the programs and to the young people that needed them?
So when Michelle called and talked about the opportunity, it was a really unique way for RBC to maybe stretch the boundaries for which we were doing our funding. So the opportunity to really walk the talk and do some of the things that we ask our recipients to do all the time, which is to collaborate more.
I think the benefit for the community partners, thinking particularly of the agencies that were funded, is that they got to participate in a very streamlined process. They had access to 5 funders through one application process. They only had one report back. I think that we did our best to try and make it as streamlined and efficient as possible. They also then got to develop relationships with 5 different funders and to showcase their work to 5 different funders all at the same time.
The collaborative funders table made it really clear who our interface people were. And so we had 1 or 2 key points of contact, one for reporting and one for overall program functioning. And so it was really very simple for us to work within this model. It wasn't any more complex. It wasn't like having 4 different conversations all the time. So the fact that they had streamlined it quite easily for agencies meant that it wasn't particularly challenging. The Nikmo program, which means music or sing in Cree, was a program designed for Indigenous youth. Indigenous youth who had experienced racism, oppression, marginalization, with an opportunity to find their voices through hip-hop culture, music, spoken word, and dance. An opportunity to come out to nature and experience land-based, unplugged, Indigenous teachings that allowed them to find a context for their experiences as Indigenous youth in Calgary. The program itself is always challenging. You learn new things when you try things that are innovative in the community, especially working with such vulnerable kids. But we found that the support that we had, the training that we received from Calgary After School, the opportunities to discuss the challenges that other funded groups were having really gave us an opportunity to solve those problems when they came up.
In general, there's a real hunger in the funding community to do things differently. And there's a lot of conversation around co-designing solutions or decolonizing funding or design-centered approaches to funding. It isn't always what we need or what we want, but we have to support what the community needs and what the community wants. And so through this type of collaboration, those voices rise to the top.
Two Wheel View is an innovative organization that uses the bike as a tool to build leadership and life skills in young people. The program specifically funded by the Collaborative Funders Table was our Beltline Bike Club. Prior to that opportunity, we had 8 to 10 week bike club programs that served youth all over the city of Calgary, but they were short, not a lot of time to necessarily connect with the youth in a way that makes kind of bigger impact long term, because we know that dosage is important. And so this opportunity gave us a chance to pilot and proceed with a program that was a year-long bike club program. So every Thursday, youth come to here in our shop space and they build bikes from scratch, and they do lots of social emotional learning activities. They go for bike rides, they do community projects, but most of all, they have a safe space here for 2 hours a week in our shop.
The City of Calgary, in addition to their funding support in the Collaborative Funders Table, gave us a 0.25 staff person whose role was really to support the funded agencies and talk to them about best practices and provide learning opportunities and lots of support. And we also brought them together in a community of practice supported by our developmental evaluator. So in addition to the funding, the Collaborative Funders Table was really mindful of the need for capacity building and trying to support the funded projects as best we could.
The Collaborative Funders Table funded the creation of our Girl Power After School program, which is a after-school program for girls in grades 5 and 6, focused on building community, chatting about issues that girls have identified as important to them, and helping them to develop leadership and activism skills in relation to those issues. One of the super valuable connections that the Collaborative Funders Table has made for us was to a social emotional learning committee, where us and all of the other funded agencies through the CFT were invited to get together, learn about social emotional learning principles, and helped us kind of apply and integrate those into our programming. So we were able to chat with other agencies, see what they're doing to help develop the capacities of CEL principles, and then take that feedback, take those learnings, and bring it here to the Women's Center. So we were able to adapt some of our programming for girls to reflect those learnings, as well as implement them into our logic model, so that now we can measure for social emotional learning competencies.
Well, we were able to distribute over $720,000 in the community over 3 years. 300 vulnerable young people participated in new out-of-school programs, and 60% of those young people had never participated in out-of-school programs before.
So in addition to all those great numbers, I think there was also success found in the way that we were able to bring multiple funding organizations together and collaborate in a way that was meaningful for the funders, but more importantly for the recipients. So I think that at the end of the day, there was a huge amount of trust that was developed amongst the various funders. We were able to meet the objectives that we had set forth, and we were able to do so in a manner that was, frankly, a really smooth and enjoyable experience, I think, for everybody.
Anytime we can collaborate, we're better together, and we have the opportunity to really meet the needs of people in our community in such a deep way when we work together and we collaborate to do that.
I think as funders, we tend to be a little risk averse, and we shouldn't be. We don't need to know exactly how something's going to turn out. We need to have trust and faith that it will turn out, and then just together we can get there.